Hey, what's up, guys? This is Neil with the Card Guys, and today I got with me
Randall Sims.
All right, Randall, what'd you do today, or over the weekends?
Yeah, hi. Randall Sims. I top scored a Road to Nationals at Charleston, South Carolina. It's a score compete esport over week 2 of Road to Nationals. The deck I took there was actually a mid-range Rhinar deck. Take a look at it here. And the reason I picked Rhinar was I have a background of playing really grindy mid-range decks in Magic, specifically Modern. And while I was testing and getting into Flesh and Blood, I really wanted to like Bravo. Every time I played Bravo and Rhinar back to back, I really just felt like Bravo was bad to Rhinar, which is the exact opposite of everyone else who plays the game that I've talked to. So that's when I started my testing. I started playing a month ago, and when you go to find testing partners and you tell them you just started the game and you want to play your Rhinar, they don't respond to your messages to do further testing. So it was left to myself. Yeah. So it's left to myself to kind of play games myself and my spouse as well. And this is what I came up with over the course of a month of way too much time playing with in a room by myself.
Well, I say for getting top 4, it definitely paid off. So yeah, we can just go forward. So we got Rhinar, and tell me about this equipment suite we got over here.
Straightforward, basic equipment for Rhinar. Just sticking with club. 4 is a magic number when it comes to Flesh and Blood. Claws, it just does too much. You just want to get in consistent 4 damage when you can, and 12 allows for that. You can still get that really explosive turns, even outside of Blood Rush Bellows. And
And we got, Arcanite Skullcap. Gotta have it, I guess.
Yeah, you just need it for the health. And also help block out those like little sneaky on-hit effects as well.
Okay, we got Scab Simulator, that's pretty standard. Glove seems pretty standard. Is the Tunic standard?
Some people actually play the chest piece you roll for the extra energy.
Okay.
Because there's runners that utilize Tunic the best compared to some other heroes. But with the build we're playing, you do get more opportunities to use the energy off of Tunic more often than the typical build. And that I'll show you here, actually.
Right, and then we got 1 Null Rune Gloves. Did you feel like you needed any more Null Runes?
No, just 1 for you for chain. You really can outrace Wizard. It's not too big of an issue, and kind of hedging your bets. Wizard isn't super popular, so you're taking your hits there. But
sure, that makes sense. Going for the meta. Mm-hmm. All right, so I guess we can start with the main deck over here.
Yeah.
Where would you like to start?
Yeah, so we have a 52 card main deck. The build out you're going for every single game is you want to go with your 15 blues to guarantee that you have the highest chance of having exactly 1 blue in your hand each turn. You're going try to get your yellow count to about 20 and then 25 red. What this allows for you to do is in the early game, your most common hand will be 1 blue, 1 yellow, and 2 reds. And
seems solid.
Yes, and with that opening count, you're very consistently able to, on turn 1, on the play, put your opponent to about 31, 32. It's not unusual to have a 3 intimidates and then get in at 8 or 9 damage. And then as the transition to the mid game, you end up going through your reds and you start getting to the point where your hands become 1 blue and then 2 yellows and 1 red. And that's where really I feel like Rhinar shines, is you get to play with some very boring but very good yellow cards. Because the deck is resource heavy, so a lot of times you do only pitching your blues to pay for your yellows, and really just rolling your Scab Skin Leathers really when you absolutely have to catch back up. But your standard, you really want to rely on your go again from something like your Breakneck Battery. Really, this is one of your go cards where you can play a safe 2-turn attack. It's great to follow up if you can. Get a Command and Conquer and Arsenal. Open with the Breakneck Battery, that go again, follow up with the Command and Conquer. It's a good go that doesn't revolve around Blood Rush Bellows, because if you've ever played Brute or played against Brute, this is the scary card, and the thing that really helps add consistency to the deck.
Which card is that?
Blood Rush Bellows.
Blood Rush Bellows, definitely.
And if you're not familiar with it, basically it pumps all your Brute attacks, weapons, cards by 2 for the turn, and then you get to draw 2 if you discard a 6 or higher, which, with the way the deck's built, it's always going to happen if you're playing correctly. So the big goal of the deck was to create powerful turns outside of having this card. that's why we gave up on Claw. That's why we went with the club. We really want to have strong turns without having to draw this one copy of the three cards in your deck.
So without Blood Rush, what would a typical turn look like?
One of my favorite turns to do, opening and even late game, is when you have one Alpha Rampage, and this is nothing fancy. I'm not trying to get a magical 4-card hand to crank through a bunch of damage, but Alpha Rampage, and then all you really need is just any 2 cards, right? And you just need your cost, your pitch, and your discard. And the thing about this is a good turn. For example, you look at and you go, all right, well, pretty well into the game, I've only got maybe 12 reds left in my deck in the mid game. Great turn to roll for Scabs and Letters, because you're going to get something off of this that's a 6 or more. And then, once again, most of your reds at this point, mid game, your attack actions are gone. So you're going to draw into a yellow or blue attack action off of Beast Within, so you get the follow up with a Club Swing. So you're coming in for 9 with 2 Intimidate triggers, and you're swinging back again after that with a Club Swing for 5. And it's a strong 3-card hand turn that doesn't ask for much. And even then, if you can get away with arsenaling the Alpha Rampage, it's a simplistic hand. You're not asking for much, really not. And it gives you some goes when you don't have Blood Rush Bellows. The majority of the time, the simplistic game plan for someone who's just picking up the deck is you want to, most of the time, arsenal your Blood Rush Bellows and just wait until you draw a good 4-card hand. One thing I've learned with the deck that really punishes new players to Rhinar is you have to be patient with your Blood Rush Bellows. Just because you drew into it doesn't mean you have to play it.
Right.
Wait for that good hand, because the floor and ceiling with Blood Rush is ridiculous. If you ever can get away with swinging just for 7 with a club with Blood Rush Bellows, that's the floor, right? Club swing for 7 with Blood Rush is the absolute floor, and you never want to set yourself to do that. You always want to go for those big 15 to 20 damage turns with Blood Rush.
All right. Well, is there any kind of changes that you would make with your main deck specifically? Anything that you feel like didn't work, feel like worked really well?
One card that the more I play with it, the more I absolutely love. It's just Primeval Bellow. In the mid to late game, the reason I love it is it lets you get a worst it'll ever do is a Club Swing for 8. And in the late game, when your opponent really doesn't want to trade 2 cards and take 2 damage, it puts you in a good spot. It really helps you close those games out when you're both below 10 life, because it's easy to throw into your arsenal and then later come in with a 2-card hand that can threaten 8.
Is there any particular reason why we're not playing any red Primal Velos?
Mostly because the damage break of the 5 versus the 4, a Club Swing for 9 mathematically doesn't line up any better than the 4.
Okay.
And since I'm playing it mostly as that, like I said, that below 10 life, like close out the game period, I will say this: Primeval Red is fantastic when you're playing against a lot of the warriors, because the thing is, Primeval really shines when you're swinging the club. And then when you're playing against, especially Bolt in particular, you really can afford to take out some more of your red attack actions, right? You could easily cut, say, like Pack Hunt and go up to 3 more Primeval Bellows to add in those really punchy red cards that also don't punish you for blocking with them as well. So it pulls double duty of being a good offensive card in that matchup and a great defensive card as well.
All right, let's get a little bit into the sideboard. How did this work out for you?
Yeah, enjoyed it quite a bit. One thing that you can notice if you look up the exact deck list I played for the event is it had 2 yellow unmovables opposed to the Arc Smash. I knew going into that event that there was I wasn't going to really run into a strong dash player, so I brought the 2 yellow unmovables, yes, to hedge my game against Warrior more, both Bolton and Varentia. That outside of that, I'd really recommend playing the Arc Smash, because I think dash is definitely gaining popularity.
Yeah,
with the way the meta's shifting. Your standard defense reactions for most of your games are just going with this 3 sync blows. It's very rare you ever match up where you don't bring in these. The Fate Foreseen and Springboard Somersault are more or less for the chain matchup, and also aggro Katsu if you can get the vibe or scout that they're on aggro before you're playing Katsu. Springboard's one of those cards that I hated in Brute until I learned how to play Brute and realized that you really need to take those turns off sometimes Swing with the Club, and this Arsenal in this card. And then Savage Feast, it's kind of like Think Below. These 4-6 cards right here come in most matchups. It's great against a lot of your more mid-ranging games you'll play against, like say if you know on Aggro Katsu, it's a great card there. It's also great against Bravo as well. And the reason being is it's one of your cards. It and your yellow Savage Sling are your two cards that really let you pull off low card or low hand attacks with your tuning. They're really the reason between these two cards give you a chance to actually attack and utilize tuning more than your standard deck. And then outside of that, really the all-star against the Bravo and Control Katsu is the Tome Timestamp package with Remembrance. With the games, it's always early, you just kind of pitch your tomes, and really, especially against Bravo, the game gets really grindy when you both get around 15 life, and it basically helps you kind of take that hit for 6, go down, and then just recover with a tome, and really kind of get back to lining up multiple turns in a row where they're really not getting a chance to play with more than one card in hand, 2 if you kind of have weaker draws, but really kind of set you playing with a 4-card hand against a 2-card hand after you're able to get off the tone from Arsenal.
All right. I mean, that's pretty much everything. Do you remember what your matchups were?
Yes. First game of the day, I played Dash. Won it with about a 24 life difference between the two of us when it was over.
Wow.
Second matchup was against Prism. Finished that game also with 27 life left over. The opponent went with a heavy aura build. The funny about that matchup is it's just patience. They play an aura, you have to respect it. You have to take the time to kill it. Actually, that's one of the reasons some people will mention about the Swing Fist thing later. Is Rhinar usually play with 15 blues, and it's a card that some people would rather play, something like Awakening Bellow in its spot. The thing is, this does give you a tool that you don't have in the deck without it, which is a low attack that you can get in, say, against Prism for 2. Most of the time I'm not going to block it. It's not enough to really matter. But the nice thing is it gives you that guaranteed go again where you can follow up with a Club Swing to pick off those auras. So it gives you that opportunity to get in a little bit of damage, but also pick off the aura. So it's a card that you need to play those 15 blues. Last 2 spots are kind of flex. It does something new, so there's no reason not to include it. You're really losing out on some percentage points in that matchup if you just don't have access to that card. And then
round 3?
Yeah, round 3. Played against a Bolton player who absolutely played the matchup fairly well. Made some mental mistakes. Didn't follow my own advice of being patient with springboard somersaults and really lining up and making sure I had the defense reactions in my arsenal in order to close out that game correctly. So that was my first loss of the event. And then the following matchup after that was against a Katsu aggro deck, the deck I probably have the most reps against in the format currently. I misread them, thought they were on control, because at the time I thought control was a stronger deck. Boarded into my control package, tomes, high tap potion, remembrance, and solely won the game off of my understanding of the matchup and being able to play with a sub-optimized deck against Aggro Katsu, and finished that game with about 14 life left.
Wow.
It was actually about 25 until I started taking hits to close out the game within less than 5.
That's really cool you're able to pull it out even though you sideboarded for the wrong matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of the pattern of the deck as well. You're really going off that early life lead and then kind of maintain it, control the game, and then really be patient and wait for those hands to close out the game. And then my last round, 5th round, before we cut top 8 was against Rob Siegel. Fantastic Bravo player. Sat down. I don't think he was prepared to play a mid-range grinding game because I came with the tomes, remember the time tap potions, really expecting the game to come down to what we pitched earlier in the game. I started off the game very, very slow, intentionally pitching my barrage and beatdowns red and yellow, to try to set up a really good into the game. And by the time I finally got through my tomes and got back to the first couple cards I pitched, he was out of gas and I had nothing but, 4 card hands that usually had 2 to 3 barrage and beatdowns. and Alpha Rampages, and just helped close out the game against a Rubble player who really didn't expect a Rhinar player to take him to the late game and try him there. And then in top 8, first Randall was against a different Katsu aggro player. This time I Gut Instinct, left figured in on aggro, brought in the entire aggro package, the Fate Foreseen, Sink Below, Springboard Somersault, and just turtle up. And the thing is, I got to, since I was the higher seed, I got to go first. And this is where you kind of, just harkens back to to me, a good Bravo deck, because I got to start my opponent that game off at 30. So turn 1, I get to pin on the giant Alpha Rampage and follow it up, and hit my opponent at 30 from turn 1. From that point forward, it's just simple. You just block, club. Finish that game with about 25 life left. Felt pretty good going into the top 4 with that big of a win. There I played Chain. My Chain plan is basically you're having to rely on luck. You want to get them to break their husk by turn 4, or turn 4, the 4th time they soul check. So if they're a little slower on it, buys you a little more time. Realistically, you need to have the husk broken by turn 4 and really get them, pressure them below 20. So in order to do that, this is where the only time luck really comes into a matchup is you want to draw all your attack actions in the first half and then your defense reactions in the second half. You can't really control that, but you can, pitch your, if you draw your Fate Foreseen, your Sink Blows, Somersaults early, you can pitch them and try to set that up. Snag is a bit of a trap card. Everyone hypes up the card and thinks that, it's this magical card that lets you beat Chain, and it helps you. It doesn't. It's not you play this card, you beat Chain. It's going to lower a Rift Bind, but the thing is, they don't always play the Rift Bind or have a giant one. You can still lose when you draw Snag. And that's kind of happened to me. I over relied on the card and ended up being burnt out in top 4 against the Chain player. Ended up taking second in the event. But that was my road to top 4 with a deck you don't see too often, playing in a style you don't see too often with Rhinar.
Yeah, well, once again, congratulations on getting top 4 with Rhinar. Definitely a huge accomplishment. Are we going to see you in any of the callings?
Yes, I'll actually be at Vegas. That's my sole focus right now is prepping for Vegas. I have about a week or so to sort out the last few things with the Chain matchup. I was able to get a great practice game in this afternoon with Sebastian against Chain, and got to kind of take advantage of some of the research I've done and playtesting and starting to feel like Chain's a really winnable matchup for Rhinar. And then after that, I'll be off to Cincinnati. We'll get the second calling I'll do, and then Nationals in Florida.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations, and peace.
Thank you.